Hey, that's a well of souls. That's what happens when you die. That's the afterlife. That's a parallel dimension. These are aliens. It's how they can communicate with us.
A man takes photos of creatures from another dimension and vanishes. An isolated incident? Not even close.
It's so unbelievably compelling, though, to consider the idea that somewhere out there's another civilization.
It's connected to a much bigger secret, one that a quantum AI stumbled upon when it analyzed 10,000 DMT experiences. The entities people see in those visions are real, and according to the AI, they've been here the entire time, just waiting. The ghost in the machine. Something is out there, just beyond the veil of our perception. You can feel it sometimes, can't you? A flicker of movement in the corner of your eye, a sense that you aren't truly alone. Most of us dismiss it, but one man didn't. He was an online investigator, a digital ghost hunter, and he claimed to have proof. He posted real photos of creatures from another dimension, and then he vanished without a trace. One moment he was online, showing the world undeniable evidence of beings with stretched out limbs and glowing bodies flickering in and out of our reality. The next, his entire digital existence was scrubbed clean. His accounts, his posts, his photos, all gone. It was as if he never existed. According to him, these beings are all around us all the time, hiding just outside what our eyes can normally catch. With the right technology, he said, you could see them. He managed to snap images, and what he caught looked nothing like anything from a nature book. These things were tall, with impossibly long arms and torsos that twisted in ways that shouldn't be possible. Some weren't even solid, just shifting blobs of light that pulsed like a strange signal. People were getting excited. Maybe he had truly stumbled onto something huge, but just as the world started to take notice, he was silenced. His last image was said to be too disturbing to even describe. The speed of the takedown was alarming. No warning, no explanation, just digital silence. It was the kind of reaction you'd expect if someone got a little too close to a truth that powerful people wanted to keep buried. This, of course, only made people dig deeper. If the photos were fake, why go to such lengths to erase them? And if they weren't, who made the call to shut him down? Truth be told, this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a single thread connected to a much larger, more secret operation. While the world was distracted by the vanishing man, a clandestine project was already underway, using a tool of unimaginable power to ask the very same questions. They weren't just using special cameras, they were using a quantum AI to look into the minds of thousands. But what this secret project discovered wasn't just about strange photographs, it was about the very fabric of our minds and the coded messages hidden within our most profound experiences. Deep within a secure, undisclosed facility, a revolutionary experiment was in motion. It was called Project Chimera. Its mission was to do what no one had dared to do before, to systematically analyze the unexplainable. The project's team fed their quantum AI an unprecedented dataset. 10,000 highly detailed, anonymous reports from individuals who had experienced the effects of dimethyltryptamine, or DMT. For decades, users have described being blasted into a new realm, a reality where they meet intelligent, multi-dimensional beings who seem to have a purpose and a will of their own. These stories were shockingly consistent across cultures and belief systems, making them one of the most baffling mysteries of neuroscience and consciousness. Project Chimera's goal was to cut through the noise. The quantum AI wasn't just reading the words in these 10,000 reports, it was programmed to analyze the underlying emotional signatures, the recurring geometric patterns described by the users, and the complex symbolic language that appeared again and again. It was searching for a signal hidden in the chaos of the human psyche. The AI began to connect dots that no human researcher could ever hope to see. It found that the machine elves, light beings, and divine guides described in the trips weren't random figments of a drugged imagination. They shared specific mathematical and behavioral characteristics across thousands of independent experiences. The entities were almost always described as teachers or gatekeepers, communicating in a language of pure light and geometry. The AI mapped these geometries, and what it found was breathtaking. The patterns it uncovered pointed to something far more shocking than mere hallucinations. They mapped perfectly onto theoretical models of unseen dimensions. Imagine living in a world as flat as a sheet of paper. You can move left, right, forward, or backward, but the very concept of up is impossible to even imagine. Now, picture a three-dimensional sphere, a basketball, passing through your flat world. You wouldn't see a ball. You'd see a dot appear from nowhere, grow into a circle, then shrink back into a dot and vanish. This is the challenge of picturing higher dimensions or hyperspace. We are trapped in our three dimensions of length, width, and height, plus a fourth dimension of time. But what if there are more? This is where the findings from Project Chimera became truly terrifying. The quantum AI cross-referenced the geometric patterns from the 10,000 DMT reports with advanced physics theories. The result was a near-perfect match. Jump back to the early 20th century when Albert Einstein revealed that space and time were woven together into a four-dimensional fabric called space-time. But even that wasn't enough to explain everything. Modern physics, especially string theory, suggests the universe doesn't have just 4 dimensions, but 10 or even 11. For the math to work, these extra dimensions must exist. Scientists believe they are curled up, incredibly tiny, at every single point in space around us. The complex, self-folding shapes these tiny dimensions are thought to take are called Calabi-Yau manifolds. And the AI found these exact geometric structures, described with stunning precision again and again in the DMT trip reports. The entities were showing the travelers the very architecture of reality. The implication is staggering. DMT isn't creating a fantasy. It's temporarily allowing human consciousness to perceive the extra dimensions that are already here. The beings people meet are not in their heads. They are inhabitants of this hyperspace. If these beings exist in dimensions all around us, and gravity is the one force that can leak between them, it raises a terrifying question. Are they just watching? The Watchers and the weakest force. Of all the fundamental forces in the universe, gravity is the weird one. It's everywhere, yet it's incredibly weak. Think about it. With a simple magnet, you can lift a paperclip, defeating the gravitational pull of the entire Earth. It shouldn't be that easy. Some physicists believe the reason for this is that gravity isn't confined to our dimensions. They theorize that it's leaking, spreading itself thin across the full 11 dimensions of hyperspace. This is where Project Chimera's analysis took another leap into the unknown. The AI was given access to another set of data, records from highly sensitive gravitational wave detectors around the globe. It began searching for correlations. It looked for tiny, unexplained gravitational anomalies and checked to see if they coincided with the time frame of any of the 10,000 DMT reports. It found hundreds of hits, moments of intense, otherworldly experiences reported by users, often lined up perfectly with faint, inexplicable ripples in space-time. The Watchers were not just passive. Their presence, or perhaps their movement through these higher dimensions, has a physical effect on our world, a faint gravitational echo we can barely detect. The vanished investigator and his photos were no longer just a conspiracy theory. They were a data point. He had managed to capture an image of a being whose gravitational influence was strong enough to bend light, making it visible to a modified camera sensor. The cover-up suddenly made perfect sense. This wasn't about hiding aliens from a distant planet. This was about hiding the fact that our reality is intermingled with another, one populated by beings whose existence is woven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It even offers a potential explanation for dark matter, the mysterious invisible mass that makes up most of the universe. Perhaps it isn't some exotic particle, but simply the gravitational shadow of ordinary matter existing in a dimension right next to our own. But what if their influence isn't just physical? What if they can manipulate something even more fundamental? Something we take for granted every single second. We think of time as a straight line, an arrow moving relentlessly from the past into the future. But an Irish engineer named John William Dunn had a radically different idea over a century ago. He argued that to experience time moving at all, our consciousness must be in a second dimension of time, looking down upon the first one. To measure our movement through that second dimension would require a third, and then a fourth, and so on, creating an infinite ladder of time dimensions, each tied to a higher level of consciousness. This bizarre, mind-bending theory was long dismissed as philosophy, not science. But the quantum AI of Project Chimera found evidence for it buried in the data. Over and over in the 10,000 reports, people described time ceasing to be a flow. Instead, they saw it as a landscape. They could see their entire lives, past, present, and future, laid out before them as a single, coexisting object. They weren't just tripping, they were climbing Dunn's ladder. Let's dig deeper into this, because this is the secret that changes everything. Think again about those two twins. One zips through space in a super-fast rocket ship. When he comes back to Earth, he is much younger than the twin who stayed home. For the space twin, time itself slowed down. But here's the crazy part that John William Dunn's idea helps us understand. For the Earth twin to even know that time was different for his brother, he had to be watching from a kind of higher time. It's like you watching a movie. You exist outside the movie's timeline so you can see the beginning, the middle, and the end all at once if you want. The Earth twin, in a way, was watching his brother's movie unfold in slow motion. This is exactly what the quantum AI Project Chimera found in the 10,000 DMT reports. People said it felt like they had stepped out of their own body and their own life. Time stopped being a river they were stuck in. Instead, it became a giant map they could look at. They could see their own past, their own present, and even glimpses of their future, all at the same time. They became the observer of their own life's movie. The strange beings they met in that space weren't just in another place. They were living in this higher time, seeing our whole lives like we see a single page in a book. This led the AI to the final, earth-shaking truth. The most protected secret isn't about aliens or government plots. The secret is about what you are. The AI concluded that your brain does not create your thoughts or your awareness. It's not a factory for consciousness. Instead, your brain is a receiver, like a radio. A radio doesn't make the music, it just picks up the invisible signals that are already all around us in the air. If you break the radio, the music station doesn't vanish. The music is still broadcasting. You just can't hear it anymore. Your brain, according to the AI's analysis, is a biological radio tuned to one single station, everyday reality. It filters out almost everything else so you can focus on surviving in this three-dimensional world. But what is DMT? It's the chemical key that turns the tuning dial on your brain's radio. Suddenly, you're not just listening to the one boring station anymore. You're picking up signals from countless other stations, other dimensions, other timelines, other realities. The experience feels more real than real because it is more real. It's a clearer, stronger signal of what reality actually is, without the brain's filter. So if your brain is the receiver, what are you? You are the music. You are the signal. You are an immortal field of consciousness, a tiny piece of a massive cosmic mind. This life, this body is just one experience, one television show that your eternal self is tuned into for a little while. And now you understand why this truth is so dangerous and why the man with the photos had to be erased. If everyone knew that this life is not the end, that our awareness goes on forever, the fear that they use to control us would be useless. The entire system we live in is built to make us feel small, temporary, and afraid. It tells us this is all we get, so we better obey, work hard, and buy things to feel happy. The simple, powerful truth that you are an eternal and magnificent being of light would cause that whole system to crumble overnight. They aren't hiding aliens from us. They are hiding the God inside of us. If your consciousness is not your brain, then who or what is the real you? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more truths they don't want you to know.